Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Welcome back to the show. Today we have Dr. William Kennedy. He's a facial, plastic, and reconstructive surgeon and the founder and CEO of AEDIT. Dr. William, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I actually think what you're doing at AEDIT is really innovative and cool. But before we get into that, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Awesome. I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts, Holden, Massachusetts.
Okay,
Born,
very cool.
born and raised, lived there pretty much my whole life, except for when I did my training.
Okay. So you went to university. What did you take and why?
For undergrad, I studied something called biomedical engineering.
Okay.
And yeah, the reason why I chose that field is because, well, two reasons really. Growing up in Massachusetts, my family was very much involved in public service. My dad was a mayor, my
Oh,
mom
cool.
was a teacher, my school was a public school teacher. So I was very much wanted something where I could serve people, give back to people. I was also very much into learning about the human body, disease processes, and also technology and solving problems. So that was the real reason why I chose biomedical engineering as my undergraduate degree.
Okay. Fascinating. And walk us through the rest of your university because you've done a lot of it.
That was just the beginning. That's where I started. So from there, so I really love biomedical engineering. It was great learning about tech. It's very tech heavy, very much. But I spent a lot of my time with that degree. You spend a lot of time kind of in the lab working on code, and it very little with it was short on the human interaction, right? Which I also really enjoyed and had a great got a lot of pleasure out of. So I decided to pivot and go from there into medical school, which I love to do. Love interacting with patients, the human touch, being able to really identify disease processes, solve problems, and help them out. And I chose head and neck surgery as my specialty because it allowed the opportunity to do large surgeries, also very delicate surgeries under the microscope, kind of offered the big gamut of surgeries involving the head and neck area. So that's why I chose head and neck surgery. Beyond that, my next stage was I decided to pursue facial plastic surgery, cosmetic and reconstructive surgery, because I think it offered the ability to really impact people's lives. Being able to transform someone, the way they look, to something that an aspirational what they could look like was really powerful, impactful. It also gave me an opportunity to develop entrepreneurial skills and also develop and hone my business acumen, which I also had a strong desire for. So it kind of combines everything, all my loves into one specialty and profession.
Interesting. Okay. So walk us through obviously being a doctor, your day to day, and then let's dive into edit and how you came up with the idea.
Awesome. My day to day, right? Well, currently, right now, I've been practicing now for about 12 years, 13 years.
Okay.
For the first 5 or 6 years, 7 years of my practice, I was solely just a facial plastic surgeon. I'd see
Gotcha.
patients in the morning. I'd operate 3 to 4 times a week. I'd have clinic 2 times a week. And it was great. Loved doing the practice. Right, I could continue doing that full time forever. But about 5 or 6 years into my practice, I realized that there were too many barriers up that were preventing people from accessing what all the different aspects of what cosmetic procedures have to offer. There's just too much fear there. People just weren't being able to be educated about what was out there. When you talk about beauty, you shouldn't be just talking about makeup, uh, hair products, things like that. That when you talk about solutions, you should be talking about everything: invasive procedures, non-invasive procedures, Botox, fillers. But people just weren't getting access to that because they don't know. Through my practice, I could reach people myself, but that was just very limited kind of scope and reach. So I decided not only that, but people are getting wrong. If there's a lot of wrong information, bad information out there. So I wanted to really utilize technology and develop my technology with my background in engineering, figure out a way that we could utilize technology to really educate people and let them know what's best for them, empower them to make their own decisions.
Fascinating. Okay. So walk us through how you came up with Edit and what exactly is it?
So, edit, just to kind of back up a little bit,
Sure.
the reason why, the idea for this specific type of technology that I came up with is right now, if you come into a doctor's office, a plastic surgeon's office, we have in-office equipment that we can have you sit in a room. We take three-dimensional pictures of you. You come and you sit down in our office, I can use that three-dimensional image of you, and I can called morph it or adjust the image to show you exactly or pretty damn close exactly what you'll look like after a procedure in my hand. So it's not automated, but it's very user dependent. So I can morph the image, change it, and I can show you like, hey, this is what your nose is going to look like after a procedure.
Got you.
My idea was to take this technology out of the doctor's office, develop using machine learning and augmented reality, VR technology, and put this technology in the hands of the consumer so they can use this in the comfort of the home without having to come into the doctor's office. They can play with it. They could see realistically what they'll look like or can look like after a particular procedure.
Interesting. Okay. So let's dive a little bit deeper. How does the technology actually work and how do I use it at home?
So what you do is that's one particular part of the actual edit
Okay.
offerings that we have. But this one particular part, what you do is you download the app, you sign up for an account, and then what you do is you actually just use. You have to have an iPhone, iPhone 10 or higher. It doesn't work on Android yet, but soon. But
Okay.
an iPhone 10, and you scan your face. There's a button on there that allows you to scan your face. You have to turn your head just like as if when when you first buy an iPhone, you have to like scan your face and do the
Right.
whole thing. It's the same procedure you go through. It'll scan. It takes over 1,000 measurements and points on your face, and from there, after you do that, you can then choose. I think we have about 15 or 20 procedures on the app where you can actually choose rhinoplasty, liquid rhinoplasty, Botox, fillers. You can choose and you can actually see in general, based on your facial characteristics and your facial measurements, what you'll look like after a procedure, which is kind of critical. So in general, the one critical, so if I keep going, one critical
Sure.
aspect of this is that not every plastic surgeon and not every cosmetic dermatologist will do things the same way, right? In general, we'll do things within certain parameters based on your facial measurements. But every plastic surgeon is an artist and has their own idea of what they think will look best on you. So we will show you in general what you can expect after a procedure, but also we also give the user and the doctor the ability to adjust um, that outcome within the range of possibilities. So say for just to say if you had a rhinoplasty done and will show you what you look like with after you have a nose job done. But you say you like, oh, I like to have my tip a little smaller. I want to have my tip a little more rotated. It'll allow you to adjust what you can achieve within the realm of possibility. In this age of Instagram, TikTok videos, where you have all these morphing abilities, Facetune, Face Plus Plus, a lot of these times that they're not based on reality. There's no borders or boundaries that prevent you from doing things that are kind of wacky.
Right.
Ours keeps you within the realm of reality of what you can expect after a procedure.
Got you. Okay. So, like, you talked about a couple of things, but I want to dive into some of the other procedures that maybe aren't as drastic because I think like as somebody that's kind of suffered with acne my basically
Hmm.
childhood and whole life, like to me, I think what you're doing can solve sure some of those more like or
Mhm.
invasive technology or changes, but
Yeah,
I also think you guys really solve some more minor stuff, and I think a lot more people are getting simple Botox or
you got
other
it.
things done. Is that, am I correct in that?
100%. And and people, and we often recommend that you start off. You don't want to. They're kind of like gateway procedures, right? You start off with very simple, non-invasive things,
Yeah.
and then you work your way up if you want to. You don't have to up to more invasive procedures if you want to, right? So the non-invasive stuff are cheaper. They're shorter acting, so right, they're usually not long lasting. They're something like Botox. Only it takes a week or so before you see the effects, but it only lasts like 3 to 4 months, which is good because you're basically just trying on procedures. If I don't like it, it's gone after 3 months. So it gives you the ability to try it. If you like it, you could try it again. But if you really love it and you don't want it to go away, there are other more permanent procedures. So our app kind of has the whole spectrum of procedures. We try to have what you look like after you have some non-invasive, minimally invasive procedures like a laser, like Botox, fillers like that, all the way up to the more invasive procedures. But it's really important to have some of the simpler, less invasive procedures on the app.
Got you. Okay. So let's say I want something done, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. I use the app.
Mm-hmm.
Then what happens?
The next
If I
step,
want to get something done, I guess I should clarify that.
right? So a couple of things. So say you choose, say you had a lot of acne or you had a lot of red spots on your
Okay.
face. You're
Sure.
able to go on the app and you actually see. You can choose different. For number one, it'll measure and scan your face. Number one, you can choose a different procedure for it yourself. It'll tell you whether or not you're a candidate or not. Say, hey, you're not a candidate for that. You already look good. You don't have enough red spots. If you are a candidate for it, it'll allow you to actually morph or show you look like after the procedure. When you get your result after that, number one, you can save it there for later because you may come back a week later and say, hey, I like the way I look, but actually I want to do it less extreme or more extreme. So it allows you to save it and kind of come back to it. So a lot of times it's a process the patients or people have to go through and kind of work their way into it. The next thing you can do is you can actually research more about what the procedure entails. So it'll link you to pages on the site which allows you to learn about the pros and cons, learn about how you get ready for the procedure, what the recovery is like. It'll also tell you other alternatives that you may not have thought about, alternatives to the procedure you just did. So if you had an IPL laser, you say, oh, you may want to consider a photofacial laser or something that's more invasive like a fraxal laser. So it'll give you options too. The next step after that, when you feel comfortable with it, it'll point you to people. We have doctors on our site that we've vetted that'll point you to people to have a proven track record of good results for doing that procedure, right? So then you can actually
Got it.
book consultations, so you can take the next step if you want to learn more about the doctor and to learn more about the procedure. So you can all do that through our platform.
Got you. Okay. So instead of basically me trying to find the best
Right.
doctor in my city, I basically do it by state or where, like, I obviously some
You-
people are more inclined to travel or not, right?
Right. Right. We have a whole bunch of different criteria on there that you can choose. Some people, the variables that you can choose. One is cost. One
Right.
is the location. Uh, you can go on the doctor's site and you can filter by a number of before and afters that they've had on there. You can filter. You can look based on education, the type of doctor. There are basically four major types of doctors that can perform cosmetic procedures, non-invasive. One is dermatologist, one is a facial plastic surgeon, one is a general plastic surgeon, and then one is an oculoplastic surgeon. Those are the four major types that people probably don't have much of a clue about at all. But we educate the people about what the different types are and which ones, what are their strengths of each, and we kind of point them to which ones will perform, have a track record of giving the best results for that procedure. It's a little I know the whole process is very complicated, so we really try to do a lot of the legwork as if you were going to come to me and say, "Hey, Will, or Dr. Kennedy, if we were good friends, I really want to have a laser done in my face. I live in Houston. Who is the best person to go to?" Right?
Gotcha.
Based on my knowledge as a plastic surgeon, like I have a criteria that I would use, being in the know, who would be the best person. where they went to school, type of doctor they are, number of before and afters, how often do, like I have an algorithm that I use that we put this in that we screen our doctors by.
Okay, I wanna dive into that in a second, but
Yeah.
I think as somebody that's known people that have gotten kind of different things all across the different
Yeah.
spectrum,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like the hardest part, and I think a lot of people don't seem to do, is the research because it is time consuming. Like you mentioned, a lot of people don't know where to even really start. So the fact that if somebody chooses to go down this road, the fact that you're giving them that much research and recommendations, I think is very helpful.
For sure. I mean, a lot of it has to do with, you know, it, the comfort of knowing that we've done a lot of research. That we're not, we only have, I think, maybe 150 doctors, 120 doctors on our site. So we're
Okay.
careful in who we bring on, right? We're not just doing a blast of just bringing anyone on there. And not only that, but really a critical part is that, doctors will, plastic surgeon or cosmetic doctors will list like every procedure in the book, like on their site that they do, but those may not be, hey, like say a closed rhinoplasty. A particular doctor may have not done that for like 5 years. If you haven't done a
Wow.
closed rhinoplasty in 5 years, man, you're not going to be good at it. So we make sure that the procedures that they list on our site, or we send patients to on our site, are procedures that meet our criteria that you're going to be have the highest probability you're going to do a good job at
Got you. Okay. And so how, like you touched on it quickly, but how do you actually screen the doctors that actually make it onto the site?
it. That's actually patented technology.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
No,
okay.
one of the main criteria in general are where they went to medical school,
Yeah.
where they went to residency, the type of board certifications that they have. There are many different types of board certifications or quasi societies that people belong to. There's a difference between a cosmetic surgeon and an actual plastic surgeon. So there are only certain board certifications that we allow on our site. And then apart from that, if you're going to list a procedure that you are want to have patients referred to you for, you have to document that you've done the procedure a certain number of times within a certain period, within a certain time period. So usually it's about 10 procedures a year over the
Okay.
previous year or previous 5 years.
Got it. Okay. Interesting.
And we look at those. We look at those before and after, so they have to be good before and after. So good results for the procedures that you're actually going to be listing on our site.
Got it. Okay. So I'm curious to dive a little bit deeper into the app and just how I do this as a user. You mentioned you have to scan your face
Yep.
and so
Hmm.
do you kind of create like a 3D model of me in the app and then I can kind of
You got it. So
okay.
it's yeah, it's an actual three. So what makes our 3D model unique amongst others is that most 3D models, when you scan your face for whatever other application, it only does down to your neck or just underneath your chin. Ours extends all the way down to your shoulders, which is unique. So that way, you get a really accurate representation of what you'll look like after any type of procedure that you have, whether it's a neck procedure, facelift, anything that involves, usually it extends below the chin. So, but yes, you get a 3D high resolution image of yourself. It doesn't look cartoony. It's 4K in its resolution, so it's a good quality scan.
Got it.
And it's
Okay.
all done on the iPhone. This is not something that has to go up into the cloud and takes like 10 minutes to render. It's like a 2 minute rendering or less rendering time that you take your picture and it shows up on your phone.
Okay. So, and maybe this is a stupid question, but it can I like if I want, I don't know, like
Save it, send it.
yeah, like I guess I'm trying to I don't know how to explain it. Like if I like in when I'm creating like my me emoji on the iPhone, I can like change my hair and color and size and nose size like to make it look like me. Can I do similar things to that? Like can I say I want my nose to be a little bit bigger, like this, like that, my hairline? Like how does that work?
100%. So
Okay.
you can go through each of it, it'll be aggregate. It'll each one you can go through. You can do change your nose, and then you can change your lips. You can change your. You can. This will all be additive to your picture, right?
Got it.
So you can continue to change your their appearance. But again, this is all done within the realm of what's possible. Um,
Okay.
it's not going to allow you to change your eye color, change the color of your iris, or
Right.
do things that are just, it may look good, but it's not something that's achievable.
Okay. And how are you guys doing that on the iPhone? Like, have you built different versions of, say, like, noses and lips that are achievable, or are you taking the 3D version of me and just modifying that, or how does that work?
So what happens is, well, there's two different ways that you can actually do this, and we're doing it both ways. One is actual measurements, just to make simplify it. One is measurements, and one is machine learning, right?
Okay.
So just to explain, the first way is, so aside from technology in general, right? Plastic surgery, all of the literature, these goals, or what, I don't want to say ideal, but what a standard rhinoplasty result can give you are based off of facial measurements, like distance between your eyes, distance between your
Okay.
pupils. There's angles underneath your labial angle. There's probably about 50 to 75 different measurements we take of your face, and based on your unique facial characteristics and measurements, this is what your nose should look like, right? So we do all those measurements in 3 dimensions. You can't really do it in 2D. It has to be done in 3D. So we do all these. That's why we're able to do this now. With the onset of iPhone 10, we're able to do these measurements and then morph your image. So we do all these measurements, and then based on your unique characteristics and measurements, we can then change your nose based on what the ideal for your facial characteristics are. That's number one.
Got
That's
it.
that's like the
Interesting.
easier way. The
Okay.
other way is through machine learning. And
Okay.
machine learning, basically, we take your picture of your face, right? And then
Yep.
it'll do its machine learning thing, basically. And then based on your facial characteristics, we then take people who have had rhinoplasty done in the past, and we teach it based on your characteristics that this is basically what you should look like. So it's mainly like we have to run through, I don't know, 10,000 images of people who've had similar procedures and show it, to teach it that based on what your starting point is, this is what your end point should be. Two different ways to get to the same point, and we're utilizing both.
Got it. Interesting. That's totally fascinating just how, like, you're applying that
Right.
technology into this space, right?
Right, 100%. It's funny because people think machine learning is going to be this thing that, like, it's a feedback loop. It takes off and becomes like super smart and takes over the world. Machine learning is only as smart as what you teach it. It doesn't go
Totally.
beyond it, right? So, if, like, in the beginning too, when I first started off, we were doing this. It was like myself and two other white guys, right? We were doing this. So, and we actually looked at it before we started to bring on a board of doctors. We weren't very diverse in our pool of images that we were teaching it with. It's like school. It's like
Right.
grade school. If we're not diverse in how we're teaching it, like, Filipinos were getting weird results. African Americans were getting weird results. So we really, our pool, our data set, our training data set, which now consists of like 50,000 images, is very diverse. So that, and all different ethnicities, when you come on there, will get realistic results for your specific characteristics that take into account gender, ethnicity, age, things like that.
Okay. So to dive a little bit deeper on that, do I have to give you
No,
or the app some of those details, or you
no.
just know from the scans of me?
Yeah, that's the cheap way of doing it. If you'll see some apps out there that ask you, "Are you male?
Right.
How old are you? What you're?" That's kind of cheating a little bit, right? Because you're just telling it where direction. It will. There's very, you know, it's not like it's a spectrum. It's an infinite spectrum of whether or not the color of your skin. It'll be very precise in choosing where you are along the spectrum, as opposed to only having five spots for your skin tone. We have a huge infinite spectrum where it'll pick you out. So yes, the short answer is, when you take your scan, it'll analyze you and it'll figure out your gender. It'll figure out your ethnicity, so to speak. Um, it's actually a skin tone, things like that.
Okay. Well, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the fact that you're letting machine learning detect that, you can give me better, more realistic
Right.
results in the app, correct?
Correct. 100%. 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And that's right now. That's what we're working on, being able to show people what they look like after procedure. But now we're also working on, now that we have this huge data set and training done, that we're now working on the diagnosis side. So a lot of people come in, they're like, I don't know I don't know which procedure. It's going to tell you like, hey, you may not opt out of this, but you have a high chance you have this skin condition, or you have age spots on your skin that you didn't notice. It'll do a diagnosis and it'll actually like give you a readout of what we think you'd have, as if you were coming in to get a consultation.
Okay, so could you find something like skin cancer potentially?
We
Maybe down
could,
the road?
yeah. We don't want to go down we don't want to go down the path of medical diagnosis, but
Okay,
right. So say, like melanoma, right? They have certain characteristics, the size, whether or not it's raised, the color, things like that. We
yeah,
could go down that road, but that just kind of leads to, I don't want to get into, hey, you have stage 4 melanoma. That's not kind of our thing. But
no, that's
yes,
fair.
we could,
It'd
yeah.
be kinda weird for an app to tell you that, especially something
Yeah.
that's that kind of scary, right?
Right. Yeah. Hey, we don't want to say, hey, are you sitting down first or something like that? You don't want to argue.
Yeah, okay, okay, but the technology's there, I guess is got it, yeah,
Yes,
interesting.
100%. It's just all the same. It's all the same technology. Yes, it could be has a wide ranging application. That's for sure.
Got it, okay. The one other thing that I thought was really interesting is I can if I was obviously qualified to do this and I had my own practice as a doctor doing this, I could white label your technology. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a great point that you brought up. So, right now in the office, especially if you come out of practice, if you're fresh out of residency, you're new, you don't have a lot of money, right? This is a really important tool to have in the office, not ours, just in general. Being able to show a patient beforehand what they can expect in your hands after procedure is really powerful.
Sure.
Studies have shown, just based on by the companies that have done the in-office equipment, that it doubles your conversion rate from consultation to booking a procedure. Like it goes from like 50% to like 90%. Just being able to give the patient that information, it levels sex expectations, and it really allows the patient to understand what they're going to be able to expect. So our technology, if we white label it, this expensive in-office technology that they have to use right now is like $10,000, $15,000 to purchase it through our app is basically free. So all you need is an iPhone and a laptop computer, and a patient can come in. If they're coming into the office, scan their face, they can sit up with you in your office, and you can actually morph their face. So it's cost effective for the doctor.
Got
It's
it.
free, basically.
But then how do you monetize that?
We monetize it on the consumer side. Um,
Oh, okay. Got it.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's basically free. It's basically free right now for the doctors. Once it becomes more, and we have more features available, it's something we consider doing for the doctors. But really, the doctors, what they offer our patients, they give our patients or our consumers that they come to our site really exclusive discounts on any pretty significant discounts or benefits on other procedures that are exclusive to our consumers. So that's kind of what they offer in return to the doctors, that we give them this technology to help them with their businesses.
Got you. Okay. And so I want to dive a little bit deeper. Okay. So I pick, I don't know, remove this acne scar from
Mhm.
wherever, right? Um, how do I know or how close can you get it to what I see in the
Interesting.
app?
Interesting. Um, let's see. How do I quantify this? I mean, I want to say pretty damn close. We're going to be producing right now. We're in the process of putting out. We've actually done studies. Put it this way: we've done studies. So all of our procedures that we've had on our app, we've had actually real people
Mhm.
use our app beforehand and then morph their nose and actually get the procedure afterwards. And it
Okay.
shows it's pretty damn close, if not exact. I mean, you're pretty damn close with the results our app shows and the actual results that you get.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how, like,
So we don't
I'm
guarantee it, but I mean, it gives you in ballpark, you're pretty damn close to what you can expect to get after your procedure.
right. And so, and then because you've screened the doctor that's best suited to me, that will do whatever procedure I picked, therefore they know what they they know that they can get it as close as, because they're picking the patient just as much as I'm picking them if they're a good doctor, correct?
Correct. So put it this way, the doctors that come into our site, like I said, plastic surgeon or cosmetic surgery in general, we follow certain geometric rules of the face, of
Right,
your particular face. So we know in general what a nose will look like, should look like after rhinoplasty based on your facial characteristics.
right,
That's the result that we give the patient. And we know the doctors on our site can give that result. Now, every doctor, like I said, is an artist and will adjust it a little bit based on their discussions with the patient and what they think is more appropriate for them. But in general, we'll give you a result that's ballpark of what you should expect for your facial characteristics.
right. Okay. Yeah, right. And then yeah, if they're um a good doctor, they're not going to give you something wild and crazy that you
No,
could probably get wherever,
right,
right? Like, yeah,
right.
okay. That,
It's
I guess,
interesting.
yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
that's like a huge concern of people. That's a huge, like, these are all barriers that people prevent people from, moving forward with even researching about some of these, even the non-invasive stuff. So the more we're able to reassure people that what they're looking at is a realistic outcome that you can expect, the better.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So I know I mentioned this earlier in our recording about, like, I was fascinated learn how many people actually get it done. A lot of people don't talk about it, and fine, like I totally get that because it's kind of a interesting thing. But do you find, like, is it mostly females, males, a bit of both? I
I
could
would
take a
say
guess, but I'm curious to get your thoughts.
it's about 80-20 right now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Female, I'm assuming, is the
Yep.
80%? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, just
Yeah,
from
it's about 80-20 for sure. Um, whether or not, I mean, that's just in general. That's
right,
just um, industry wide. Not it also is reflected in the people that actually come to our site. It's probably about 80-20.
okay. Do you see that number becoming closer together? It seems like more and more people are seeming to getting even just minor stuff done.
For sure, 100%. It seems to be the gap seems to be closing. Do I ever think it'll be 50-50? I doubt it, just because some of the procedures and some are not, like lasers for the face, because guys usually, have facial hair, is problematic, or guys usually don't do lip fillers. Um,
Right,
or brow lifts, things like some of the procedures are really tend to be gender specific, but some of
okay,
the other stuff like hair transplants, under eye, bags and under eye circles, any type of like Botox, guys don't usually like to have. Some guys do, some guys like to have wrinkle removal type procedures. But yeah, the gap should be closed. It shouldn't be 20%. It should definitely be increased. And there's nothing wrong with it's just all a matter of educating the public about what's available and what's out there.
sure. And actually, that's a good segue. That was going to be my next thing. Like, if for people that have maybe thought about it, either male, female, or other, it doesn't really matter. Do you, like, what advice do you give to them? Obviously, you could just say, like, try the app and see what you like or don't. But outside of that, what advice would you give people that are maybe considering doing something?
The most important thing is don't be afraid to research. I'm not saying don't be afraid to get something done, right? This is not a site that's trying to push people down the funnel and get some procedure done, right?
Right.
This is a site that really we develop tools to help empower users to educate themselves about what's best, what their needs are, what's best for them, the different types of procedures, and the different type of doctors, right? So there's no pressure. Just don't be afraid to educate yourself. Utilize trusted sites like this one to learn more about what's out there. Because at the end of the day, there's a ton of great stuff out there that people just don't use. They just don't research, they don't kind of look into. And it's really, I mean, that's the reason why once people start getting procedures done, they keep going, right? Because they work, because they do have a great effect. Um, but there's just a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of barriers out there, a lot of white coat kind of syndrome that prevent people from even like dipping their toe in and researching. So don't be afraid to kind of get out there and utilize sites like this to teach yourself on what's available.
Sure. Well, I think a lot of it too is it's such a personal thing
Totally.
that people are like I think like are almost like embarrassed by it,
Yep.
or if we have something that bugs us, whether it really is an issue or not. Like if you can get something fixed and it makes you feel better about yourself, like it's at least
Yeah.
working into like, and I'm not even talking just with anything really, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, cosmetics procedures are not vain. It's like when you get up in the morning, you comb your hair. That's not vain. If you like brush your teeth and put on makeup, that's not vain, right? These are all things that make you feel better, right? Make you feel better about yourself. Whatever. These are all things that empower you, what you want. You're not doing it. Usually, we help tell people that you're doing it for yourself. Don't do it for other people. But these are all really great things that can improve your own self-esteem.
Sure. Well, because we're all self-conscious about
Yep.
something, right? And
Yeah.
if you can get rid of some of that, yeah, it's interesting. And I think that's good advice. Like, do your research, look into this, see where your
Right.
comfort level is with whatever it is, right?
Right. And we're here to help you we have the whole journey, the whole every step of the way. We have live people that when you sign up to, you're assigned an actual aesthetic expert, someone you actually can. So say you don't want to actually just use the ML, the technology, you actually want to speak to an actual someone in the know that you can trust and develop a relationship with, you can do that, right? You get assigned someone um that you can actually ask questions to throughout the way. You don't have a question this month, but you have a question next week, you can ask someone. So we're here to like, really help them through the process.
Okay, so okay, so I sign up. I want to talk to somebody. What
Yep.
is that? Walk me through that journey.
Oh, so after you sign up, you're introduced to an actual aesthetic expert.
Okay.
We have several on staff, so they do an intro and they say, "Hey, we're here for you if you have any questions."
And
You know,
this is just like a video call kind of thing?
no, no, no. It's like a chat bot.
Oh,
It's a
okay, okay, got it.
yeah, yeah, it's a chat bot. So you can actually ask questions. If you want to call, you can also call.
Okay,
And you can do video calls too. We haven't had anyone go. Usually they just like to do it's a chat basically.
got it.
But this is not a chat like there used to be another site out there called Resi where they would ask people if you have any questions, but it wasn't really someone in the know. These are certified people, nurses, LVNs, doctors who can give you real advice about questions you have.
Got it. Okay. So I'm curious, has the pandemic and the fact that a lot of us are working from home, sitting in front of, Zoom calls or whatever all day long, changed the industry, stayed the same, a bit of both, or how's the pandemic changed or not changed the industry?
I mean, it definitely has changed the industry for sure. Whether or not it's going to swing back, I doubt it. I mean, I just in a couple different ways. I mean, now this the Zoom technology was available, crazy enough, before the pandemic. No one
Yeah,
used it, right? So when the
sure.
pandemic hit, it forced people to. It's all like trying out new. It's kind of like plastic. You got to try it once. You got to dip your toe in. Once you try using it, it becomes a part of your life. Like God, well, how did I ever? Now that you got over the hump of learning how to use it, you'll always use it. The same thing is going to happen when it comes to cosmetic medicine in terms of virtual consultations where you can get on a Zoom call and do whether or not it's machine learning, AR, VR technology that helps you actually put the knowledge of a doctor in the form of an app, so you can get like 90% of the way there of an in-person consultation. Well, all these tools are really enhancing the way we deliver medicine, and we're not even talking about the metaverse yet. So yeah, definitely it's changed, and it's only going to increase. It's only going to this technology is improving more and more, so that the education and the product that we deliver gets more and more valuable.
Interesting. You mentioned the metaverse. Like, do you want to expand on that?
So metaverse, is Facebook changed their name from Facebook to Metaverse. I mean, they're dumping billions of dollars into this. companies like CVS, healthcare, hospitals are buying up quote unquote land in the metaverse, right? This is going to be a thing where you can actually go in, put on your AR VR headset, and you can go walk into a CVS or you can walk into a doctor's office, right?
Right.
So the same thing's going to happen. You'll have medical practices in the metaverse. Right now, the technology, you have an avatar, so it's kind of like you don't really. It's kind of like, right now it's you don't. The avatar doesn't really reflect what you've looked like, right? It's kind of like a glorified what we're doing now, like a Zoom call.
Right.
But it's developing now utilizing technology like ours, where you can actually scan your face. Your avatar looks like you, right? Has your
Right.
characteristics of what you look like now. So you're looking at me, I'm looking at you in the metaverse. I can actually, it's almost pretty dang close to what you'll actually look like in person. That's what we're
Interesting.
headed.
No, very cool.
Yeah.
But we're kind of coming to the end of the show. So how about we close with
Yep.
mentioning where people can get more information about yourself, Edit, and any other links you want to mention?
Sure. So our website is edit.com. That's AEDIT.com. You can follow us on Instagram at edit, AEDIT. TikTok is at _edit. That's THE_AEDIT. And you can also download our app. It's called the Edit.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks much. You too. Thanks
Thanks,
talking.
Dr. Thanks, Dr. Kennedy. Okay.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.